Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your hosts, Katie Comer
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Hope After Addiction. We are so happy that you've joined us for a very special podcast. I'm just so excited about this podcast. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. We also have Dina here, which is Chelsea's mama. And I mean, I'm just so excited to hear just her story and her journey. And so thank you so much for being here. So we're going to get started with this. I'm going to move the mic right over here for Chelsea.
Thanks, friend. Just mic sharing. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm good here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Mom, it's special. She came up for Christmas. And so we have a long journey of addiction in our family with my dad and then my little brother. And so Mom has a lot of precious experience, and she also walked through John's addiction with me. So because she had a lot of experience and knew that it's not the person that, you know, does the things, it's the addiction that we hate. So yeah, so we're going to ask questions and she's going to answer, and wherever God leads. So, okay. First one, what was the hardest part of walking through addiction with your son?
I think for me, just knowing him as a baby.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You see your perfect little infants, your perfect children, you see so much hope and joy and love and just all the potential in those kids, you know, like they're going to grow up to be something so incredible and so special, and, you know, something that God has put in them and use their talents that he's given them. And then to see them basically take that in a different direction, something so destructive. But the whole time, you know, as a mom, you know, and sometimes you feel like you're the only one that still sees that they are still that person that you know them to be inside. The addiction is not who they are. They can get past that. They can survive it. They can overcome it, and they can be a better person because of it. But I think that was the hardest thing for me, is knowing that my child was not using all of his gifts and his potential, and just seeing him as somebody that I knew that wasn't him. And other people were seeing him like that. I didn't want them to see him like that. I wanted him to see them as I saw. See him as I saw him, not as like the world sees him and how the drugs were making him. So, yeah.
That makes sense, because we can't see what God's doing in the time. And I heard a pastor say that one time as a parent. He said, you don't know a child's destiny, and God has that plan. So you don't know what God may use this for to bring them into like our stories,
Right.
you know, and how many people they may help one day through the addiction. And that's what's hard, because you can't see that in the moment.
Yeah. Right. It's so good.
No,
Sorry,
no.
I had to leave for a second. So.
You're good. You're good. You're good. It's like I'm back. Hello again. Oh, so good.
Screeching my chair and like, so I missed some of it, but
That's okay. You're good. That's another one. One of our moms said this, that she felt guilty, or that people saw it as a reflection of her, you know, and to know when other people saw him that way, that it's not a reflection of you and the mom that you are.
And I think the expectations too, like we have these expectations from growing up in these perfect, beautiful Christian homes that so many of us did. We had never experienced life as a parent who knew what jail was, or who knew what life on the street was, or who knew what even the name of drugs was. Like, didn't have a clue. And you walk into this so blindly, and you're thinking all these other people around you are thinking, man, what have you exposed your kid to? And you haven't. I mean, you have grown up like with Christian grandparents and in church and all that. And it's like, wow, it is so incredibly eye-opening. And that's just, So you kind of tend to shun away from people, because, you know, you're in protective mode of your child for one thing, but your whole family and everything else. And it's a tough walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay. What did tough love look like to get your son help?
tough love for me as a mom it took a while, and I'm sure it does for so many people who have walked this path. But with Ethan, it started out just with little things, finding cigarettes in their room and those sort of things, and just grounding. And then it got to be where, you can find them at certain times, or just, things that high school kids do. But there was, I guess, a lot of surprise. But then when it got to the point where I got that phone call where he had robbed a person on the sidewalk. He had just gone to the drugstore and stolen drugs you make meth with. And then, actually, I'm sorry, he robbed the lady, stole her purse on a sidewalk, and then went to the drugstore and got meth, the cold medicine that you make meth with. And I was like, okay, at this point, he's arrested, and I'm giving it to God. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. He has taken it away. I did a lot of research initially before that, trying to find help from like the Spartanburg County Boys Home, places that maybe the Eckerd Boys camps, things like that. $60,000 a pop and $30,000 a pop for like help, and you can take out student loans for that and all that. But wow, I mean, the cost of that is just so exponentially out of your reach or my reach. And so I didn't have the funds to get the help. And so as a mom, I, at that point, basically had to say, well, okay, I've got a little bit of help now. And I did get some advice from a lady. I called the Spartanburg County Boys Home where my brother-in-law worked. And they have homeless boys there that they've taken in, and some of them have had addiction problems and things like that. They were high school kids, and the lady there that was the counselor, she said, "You basically just have to let him get arrested, and then you'll get some help." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. That's not the path. I can control this. I can handle this. I'll figure out a way." Well. That was our next step. He got arrested, and I didn't realize at that point it was that bad. So when he got arrested, then at that point, truly, actually, we were able to get some help. And it's sad that it comes to that, but that tough love where they say, he can't come back home and live with you, and things like that. In a way, it was peaceful because I knew he was in a place where they were taking care of him. He was getting
we know that feeling.
He couldn't hopefully get access to drugs, and that was like the safest I had felt in a long time. Not saying I'm just giving my child over to you, but at the same time, he was 16 years old, and we were able to finally get him some help that way. So he went to counseling, inpatient counseling, all that, and we did get some help.
So, obviously he was younger, like before he was a true adult, right? So, the consequences though he was making, are adult consequences though, essentially. As you're talking, I know we kind of looked at each other when you said, "Oh, I know that feeling." You feel safe, but do you feel, because we do have a lot of mamas that watch this and they're like, I just don't know. And a lot of them are adult, right? But there's still some of the same sentiments. Do you feel like he was upset with you at all for making some of those decisions? Like, you have to do this before you can come home, or you have to do this. How did that work? Because in the truest sense of a mom, a lot of times enabling is just, in anybody, even as wives, but as a mama, we see a lot of mamas enabling because you're like, that's my baby and I don't want them to die. So I will pay this bill and I will do this so they don't go to jail, and I will do this. So do you feel like, I know when he got arrested, sometimes your hands were kind of tied and made some of these decisions easier for you. But do you feel like he held a grudge towards you at all with some of those beginning decisions of going to this place and this place?
I think so. I think he was initially angry. Yeah. But I think he also realized he didn't have a choice at that point because he had made the choices that he had made. And when we were in the courtroom that day, the judge let me stand up and speak, and I decided I was gonna I was going to ask for help. I mean, it was funny because the judge that day was Ethan's first grade teacher's husband from years back.
Wow.
And I said, Judge, please, we need some help. I don't know what that entails, but Ethan needs help. And I, as his mom, have seen this for so many years. I have no resources. There are no resources out there that we can find. And he so kindly said, okay, and sentenced him with the sentence of going to a facility about an hour from our house, where he was able to go to a juvenile detention facility, but get mental and substance abuse. It was a drug addiction youth facility. And that was the only way I was able to get help for him. And yes, I did. I mean, I felt guilty because yes, of course, I was probably a number one enabler, just trying to be the good mom and trying to keep peace in the family. And poor Chelsea got beat up all the time over it because he was, the addiction just destroys families. And, and she was not the squeaky wheel. He was the squeaky wheel. So it was tough.
Yeah.
But, I think he got angry, but also a lot of that turns into guilt for them because they know what they're doing to their families. So.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I think a lot of people, and we deal with this a lot, don't realize how deep they are into it. They think that they're fine. They're just another guy on the street, girl on the street, until the consequences come, until they get arrested and have to sit in it with no substance, do they realize that, you know what, I do have a problem. And so sometimes that's the first step to the fall of getting help. It's like, okay, I've been arrested. I'm sitting in jail by myself and there's nothing I can do. And so sometimes that is the greatest blessing, as hard as it is for a parent or wife or whoever it may be to watch your loved one in jail. Sometimes that's the thing that God uses to get that first step rolling.
That wake up call.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I have letters still in boxes that he wrote me while he was there. And just the wanting to get better, wanting to do better, wanting to be a better, brother, and knowing that he did wrong. And like, I still have those letters, So there was breakthrough in that. Like,
so
there
how old were you
was.
when this all went on?
What?
He would have been. He was 2 years younger than her. So when this first
High
really
school,
got
yeah.
ugly, she was probably 17.
Okay.
When but actually his symptoms got really bad around 8th grade. So she would have been 10th grade.
Yeah. So, very high school, very much a lot of that. Okay. Is there any advice you would give parents after your journey of walking through addiction with a child?
I think for me, it's don't give up on your child. Always see them. Not enable them, but always see them as that person that you know that they were meant to be and that God meant them to be, because that person's still there. It doesn't matter how ugly, how messed up they get, how many times they mess up. They are your child, and God gave that child to you for a purpose, and that purpose is still there. Whether they decide to walk that road differently than you envisioned it, that purpose is still there. And I mean, to this day, Ethan still says, Mom, you're the only one that never gave up on me. But I couldn't. I mean, then so many people think, why don't you walk away from that? They tell me that. Why don't you walk away from that? You can see he's just being so destructive. He doesn't care. He did care. He just didn't know how to show it, because the drugs take away the care. The drugs take away the reason that, you want to be the son your mama wants you to be, and all of that. But it is still deep down in there. It's still, I'm my mama's boy. I'm my daddy's boy. I'm still that person. And don't let the drugs or the alcohol or whatever make you think that has changed them. It does change the way they act, and it changes a lot of times reactions, but it's the person that they are is still there. And it's like, be the only person that loves them. Even if everybody else is telling you don't, just walk away from it. Don't walk away from them. I mean, you don't have to put yourself in debt and do all of that, but always be the support person. Always be there, when they need you, or they just want to cry, or they just want to send you a letter from jail. Read it and write them back. Don't ignore them because they do something wrong. You wouldn't want somebody to do that to you.
I know. So. Yeah. I mean, that is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. That's so beautiful. And made me cry. But a mother's love. As soon as I had my son, you instantly know that like feeling of just unconditional love. Like, yes, I love my husband unconditionally, but there's something about having a child that you would do literally anything for, which in turn, that's where we talk about enabling. But you said it so beautifully. You don't have to go out and do all this stuff to help them in their addiction, but you can love them through it. And I think that's so beautiful. Right. Like, yes, we do see that where some people just give up on their children, don't write them back, and in the jail system, and they just feel so lonely. And I just think that's such a beautiful portrayal of a mom that you showed us. And so thank you for that. It's good.
Yeah. It's good. It's special. And I remember just being in high school, and I remember there was one day and I got so angry at her. Like, why don't you just stop? Like, he is walking all over you. He is abusing me. Like, why don't you just stop? But I remember in high school, I was like, I don't have a child though. So I don't know what it feels like. I know as a sister, it's easier for me to just put my hand up.
For you to recognize.
Yeah. But I also knew that I'm not a mom, and I don't understand what it's like to be a mom. Now I do. You know, yeah, like it's.
You do the same thing for Jasper.
Yeah. In a heartbeat.
I know.
Yeah.
So you get it now. But I think
I would have
that's.
done the same for her. I mean,
Oh, for
was
sure.
awful.
You would have.
But poor Chelsea got all the abuse. Like, the squeaky wheel, of course, takes so much time and attention away. And this child here is just like was my only support person through all that. I mean, she was just an angel. I mean,
Prepare me for John.
Yeah.
Well, slept with my bedroom door locked some nights. And, it's just it is a scary existence, and sometimes it was just me and Chelsea just dealing with
Against
it.
the world.
Yeah.
We were though. Yeah.
Powerful testimony at that.
Yeah. But was it you and I talking about it this week? But just about even in addiction, people need one person that believes in them. And John even said that. He was like, you believed in me. Like, you never gave up on me. You kept on with me. And sometimes you can cut off all time. Like, you can cut off all enabling, put your foot down, but you can still say, I love you and I believe in you. Even if you put your foot down, even if you literally strip them from everything, you still can say, I love you and I believe in you and I know you can do this.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's a good
But then
reminder.
later on, they respect you for that.
Oh,
So
they
you
do. They
There's a
do.
huge respect factor in that you stood up and said, I love you. I'm not going to let you do this to me, but I love you. And I'm here for you.
When one of the greatest things is, I love you too much to let you stay this way. You're better than this. And that's one thing. And they believe that. When Papa taught me that, like, speak into them what they need to believe in themselves, because right now they don't believe that.
Right.
And so when we believe that in them, Papa was big about speaking in, speaking in things. So
Some good, powerful reminders.
oh, it is.
Some really good stuff.
Okay, let's see. I think we already did that. Let's see. I will go just because we're both sitting here. How did your son's addiction affect other family members? Did you feel in the middle? And I do ask this one because we do have a lot of siblings that come through the program and their parents are like, what do we do? What do we do with that?
Yeah, I feel like I totally failed in that area. I
She
felt like
didn't.
I was really, Chelsea was so strong. And so, I mean, this child, people used to say, don't tell people your child is perfect. Don't say they're perfect. They're going to mess up and disappoint. I say, no, you don't understand. Like, from the time she was born, she was like the perfect child. She would sit in a wedding with me and sit there and be quiet the whole time and just.
Wish Jasper would do that.
Oh, my goodness. And then just growing up, I mean, I never had to remind her to do anything. She brushed her teeth. She took care of her braces. She studied. She did all that. And she was so strong. And I don't know if the Lord was preparing her for what was coming, just giving her that strength.
I think so.
And giving her that personality and all that to be that independent. I don't have to be taken care of because my mama's going to not be able to figure it out and take care of my brother instead of me.
No.
No. Oh my goodness. It was tough. I mean, I feel so much, I guess, guilt now that I saw it from the flip side. Now that Ethan's so much better and he is, everybody that's been through addiction there's still that risk, that battle.
Sure.
But at the same time, he has just been incredibly, I don't know, it breaks your heart sometimes to see how he continues to not see himself forgiven and not see himself accepted and all of that. He tries and he wants to always say, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Mama. And it's like, honey, this is the past. You are forgiven. None of that you did in the past, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. You are just an incredible person, and you have been so strong to get through this. Chelsea has been so strong to get through this as, his sister, because she double walked through it. She had an abusive father who was addicted to drugs, which I was so young, I didn't even understand for quite a few years what was even going on, and that he was getting medication and taking over the prescription medication and abusing it and things like that. So it's like there's a double pass there. It's like, poor Chelsea, she's my strength as a little tiny person walking through that with her dad. And then we left in the middle of the night, and then, with her, and then all of a sudden it comes back around with brother. And then poor thing, she has been the strongest person I've ever met. I said, I feel like she should have been the mom and I should have been the child for sure. I tell people that all the time because she is so incredible, but, it does affect the family, and then family members tend to draw away from you. Okay. So I think it's more like I'm kind of in the middle, but I'm kind of alone. Not like alone without Chelsea, but your family, isolated. Like they don't want you to be around their children. They draw away and stop inviting you to things and all of that, or they just tolerate it, but they don't really want to. They don't want to risk being around the explosive behavior, those things, and that's hard. So seeing them not invited to birthday parties and not invited to, from friends at school because they act out and stuff like that. So that's where it really becomes hard as a mom, seeing everybody pull away from them. So then you kind of not feel stuck in the middle, but you feel like you're the protective mom.
Yeah. Well, she was a wonderful mom, so don't let her fool you. No. I was not perfect, so don't let her fool you. Yeah. But the cool thing is, God knew I'd be sitting at this table one day. That's what's so cool. That's the destiny that we don't see in the middle of it. Yeah. Even me with Ethan and with John, I'm like, God, what are you doing? You know, like why? I've been through this my whole life. Like why again? And now I see what God's doing with it. So,
and I haven't even told you this. You might already know this, but and it is. It's so cool because we have like an influence with this podcast, and because of everything you've been through and I've been through. Adam, my husband who runs Life After Addiction and S2L, our sister ministry, he told me yesterday that we have, and you might already know this, but we have somebody in the program at S2L that is there because the wife listened to our podcast. And so like, it's just so beautiful, not by our own doing, but by God. Because of what we've been through, because of your dad, because of your brother, because of your husband, like how beautiful that their husband is getting help because they came upon our podcast, so it's just, it's beautiful. Yeah, so there is a story and there's a purpose and we talk about that all the time, and just know, that your story has purpose and your story has purpose. And you're a wonderful mama and you're a wonderful sister because of that. So
thank you. I think so often about just when you're in those hard moments and you feel isolated, and I've seen often where Jesus is literally like standing there. Like, you don't know what I'm doing, but I do. And like even the moments that you felt guilty of like, God, why? And he's standing there like, I have a purpose for this. I have a reason for this. 15 years ago, we couldn't see that, but now we see how faithful he is, which is so cool. Okay. Last question. It's always my favorite. What is your greatest lesson that you were taken from this season of addiction as a parent?
Just grace.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cliche, but God's mercies are new every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I wake up every day and I thank the Lord that my son is still alive, and that our family is still connected and loving and forgiving and kind, and they walk through this with us and in such a graceful way. I mean, and of course, like Chelsea said yesterday, that's my person. Number one prayer person I think of when the Lord says, who are you thinking of? Who needs prayer today? It's always Ethan, because I just feel like that some people, I feel like we are praying them through life. I mean, it is like something, and I don't ever release any of my children from that. I pray for all of my children, but it's like that is, so as a parent, I think God just gives us these amazing gifts of these children, but he also gives us a purpose to pray, every day. But just the blessings that he's shown our family. But I think the lesson, the greatest thing I've learned is that humility and mercy and grace. Never thought in a million years I would ever know what the inside of a jail looked like or the inside of a prison.
We spent many a Christmas in those.
We were so happy. And the pat downs and all of that. It's like being past that. And I think God opening my eyes to, I think, what so many other people go through, so many other parents, moms, all that. I felt so alone. I was like, I am the only person out here who has ever seen the inside of a jail in our social circles and all that, going to visit their child. Who has ever had to take another child with them to visit their brother, and it happens all the time.
It really does.
And I thank the Lord for bringing me to that place where I understand what so many people, just normal people, go through every day. I was like up here thinking, oh, the world's such an amazing place. And it is, but there's so many people out there that need help. And you don't understand it, and there's no way you can help unless you've walked through it. I just feel like it just takes like a teacher. They have a special gift for children and for teaching. And same with people who have walked through addictions. They have a gift to help others. And, I thank God for that gift. I have talented art gifts and all those, but I haven't, he developed a new gift in me for understanding and compassion.
And compassion.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's special.
Yeah, I'll always remember one time when I was speaking at a ladies' event, and I feel like I even said this on my podcast before, but I was speaking, and after I was done, the lady who was over it came up and was like, I just want people not to feel alone in this, and that's why I got her up here and speaking. So if you've been affected by addiction, whether you directly, whether it's a loved one, or a family member, a friend, whoever, stand up. And over half of the place, and there was like over 200 women there, you know what I mean? Over half the place stood up. And there was somebody that also spoke on divorce and also spoke on some sort of, I think it was cancer at the time. And like by the end, everybody in that room was standing up because they had been affected by something that we were talking about. One of us three were talking about. So you are not alone. And that's why we do this podcast. And our podcast is so powerful because it makes people not feel as alone. And you as a mama, speaking on this on behalf, of what you've been through, this makes one mom, as she's listening, not feel so alone. And so I do appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because I do think that if it just reaches one mom feeling, like I said, not so alone, that is what you're here for. And that's so beautiful. So, yeah.
I love it. And I think one thing I just want to encourage you, if you're a parent with a child, there's not something wrong with your child.
That's right.
There is a heart issue. And I've told my little brother for years, I said, I see that little boy deep inside of you. And that's what's hurting right now. That's what's running to use to numb whatever you're feeling. And so whatever parent you are sitting here listening, or wife or husband, no, there's not something wrong with your loved one. It's that broken little child inside of them that's still crying out for help. So know that you're a wonderful parent, you're a wonderful wife, you're a wonderful husband. None of us are perfect, but love them, grace yourself, like Mom said, grace them, and don't enable. Yeah, but thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Special.
Yes.
And Mom has a big story, so it's special.
Absolutely. I do. I really appreciate you coming on. I think it was so beautiful, so needed. I just love guest speakers because it just reaches people that maybe not necessarily, I mean, yes, I think that they can draw from what we're saying, but when we have guest speakers on, it just hits them to the core and they're like, oh, that's exactly how I was feeling. And I think it's so beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you so much for listening today. We hope that you felt encouraged. We hope that if you know of a mom or a dad that are really struggling in this season, that you'll pass this episode along. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe and share it. Share it with your family and friends. If you're listening or find this on Instagram or Facebook, make sure that you give us a like as well and share us with them as well. So we thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week.